Time for part 2 of our Chinese EVs in Canada series. So we've looked already at BYD and the models that I think they're going to be bringing into the country. Now we're going to look at how BYD is going to actually start operation in Canada. It's not going to happen like everyone thinks. They're not just going to roll up on a street corner and start selling cars out of the back of a truck or something like that. It takes a lot of work to come into a country, and we've got some models on how that might happen. So stick with me now, and we're going to look at the options for how we might see our first Chinese vehicles, real Chinese vehicles, roll into Canada. What I'd like to do is look at how BYD has already expanded internationally. I think there's some examples around the world for how BYD has started to export cars, and I think we can find some answers to our Canadian questions in what BYD has already done. The first example that I'm going to use is going to be Australia. BYD entered Australia in 2022, and their first vehicle was the Atto 3. Now, what they did when they rolled into the country was they actually found a local partner in order to start the process of introducing their cars to the country. And they did so not by positioning them as cheap cars, but by leveraging the technology that they had. They partnered with a company called EV Direct in order to get into the market. Later, they partnered with some retail groups, some automotive groups, in order to supply some extra sales and especially parts and service. So the play behind this was to leverage people already in country, to leverage some of these corporate resources and companies in order to gain access to the market and provide some confidence in the buyers that BYD was going to be able to not just sell them cars, but also provide service. The catchphrase that BYD liked at the time was Tesla technology at Toyota prices. They were leveraging the advantages that they had in technology and what they had available for features in the vehicles and using that technology anchor, but offering at prices that more consistently aligned with major mainstream manufacturers of ICE vehicles like Toyota. So the public looked at this and they actually made a value play judgment. So they looked at things like the battery size, the range they were getting. They went to basics. They went to what am I getting and how much am I paying? And looking at the technology on top of it as a bit of a bonus. Underneath all of this, they still had to work to counter negative implications of things like warranty service and quality of manufacturing. What is the resale value going to be? So sort of like when Japanese cars came into North America, all of the same questions that were asked then of Toyota and Honda, they're being asked now and then in Australia of companies like BYD. If you like the channel, you want to learn more, subscribe down below. In the end, the biggest barrier that they had nothing really to do with the manufacturing quality of the cars or the features, but it was an effort that they had to gain trust of the average Australian car buyer. Once they started to garnish some trust with, in the marketplace and in the media with cars like the Atto, then they started to bring in their other higher end vehicles. So you get into stuff like the Dolphin and the Sea Lion, expanding the range and building out the models that they had available in country. Up to 2025 when they brought in 50,000 BYDs into Australia. Now in Europe, they did something completely different. They didn't enter Europe based on being a value play. They leaned even heavier on the technology, and they positioned themselves as a bit of a premium brand based on some of the features of these EV vehicles. So the Chinese vehicles do have technological advantages in a lot of their battery technology, and the market knows that. So if you're looking for some of the best EV technology, it's all about battery, and it's all about the trust in that level of technology. The first country that BYD entered in Europe was Norway. Now, you may or may not know, Norway's got a massive level of EV adoption. And what they were able to do was go into an already primed market for electric vehicles. And they didn't go in with the Atto, they didn't go in with the Seal, they went in with the Tang. They went in with a high-end luxury SUV in order to anchor themselves as a premium brand with premium features in the European marketplace. Then, when they expanded into other markets in Europe, they basically replayed the situation, positioning themselves not as a low-end, cheap Chinese entry vehicle, but with higher-end vehicles that offered some technological advantages that discerning European consumers could appreciate. So they entered the European market not with messaging that said, buy us because we're cheap. They entered saying, buy us because we're a high-tech company with some of the best electronic products that you're going to be able to buy in the automotive sector. European buyers responded by purchasing the vehicles based on some of the core technology, the battery technology in particular. On the negative side, there still were some software integration issues that had to be overcome, and your average European driver expects a little more from a driving experience, and Chinese cars may have mastered technology, but when it comes to pure driving experience, there probably is a little more work they have to do. So they were being compared to Apple for technology, but to BMW for the driving dynamics of their vehicle. Some you win, some you lose. The last part of the European entry is that they realized that they had to become localized, and they quickly moved to establish a manufacturing plant in Hungary to tell people, yes, we're a Chinese company, but we're manufacturing in Europe. BYD didn't enter as the cheapest car in the market. They entered as a premium product with a higher level of technology that could garner a bit of a better price. Now, Mexico was the last case study. In Mexico, BYD entered with several models across a wide range. Everything from the Yuan Plus to the Han to the Dolphin and Seal. So it entered with some lower priced vehicles across a bit of a wider spread. So in Mexico, BYD was a little more price focused. So this shows their flexibility in their lineup that has everything from high-end vehicles like the Tang to low-end vehicles like the Han. And they can address multiple markets with multiple products and cover pretty much every price point. So with this strategy, BYD started to gain market share in Mexico pretty quickly. So one of the more interesting offerings that BYD had for the Mexican market was the Shark, the pickup truck. And they're using that pickup truck entry to sort of pre-test how it might work in the North American market. So there's several features of BYD's entry that are worth looking at. Number one, how many models do they enter a market with? Number two, what sort of local support and local partnerships did they develop? Next, what price points and what features do they promote to each country's car buying market? And finally, the icing on the cake is, are they going to have local production and local manufacturing? So what does this mean for Canada? Well, the first thing is, I wouldn't bet on having a lot of low-priced entry-level cars. They do have that in the playbook if they need to go to it. But Canada is a more developed country, more aligned with Europe, so I think we're likely to see a higher level of car that relies more on the technology rather than the price point in order to incentivize buyers. The other thing that plays into that is the entire country of China is only going to be exporting 49,000 cars into Canada. And most of those are already going to be Teslas, let's be honest. So the number of cars that are going to be sent into this market is going to be limited. And I don't think they're going to have a hard time selling whatever they send in based on the number of cars that are going to be available. And when I say export to Canada or import into Canada, what that really means is you're going to be able to buy a BYD in Toronto, Montreal, or Vancouver. There's not going to be a lot of pressure to spread across the country too quickly when you've only got a limited number of cars that you're going to be able to import. So we're not going to see the $12,000 Chinese EV in Canada. But what we are going to see is we're going to see higher end vehicles that are going to rely on a technology play, advanced battery tech, and advanced features like karaoke and ice machines in your cars. There's a lot of really interesting things that the Chinese auto manufacturers are doing in order to appeal to a younger demographic. So it's not going to be a value play. And it's not going to be a pure high-end play. We're going to find ourselves a little more in the middle, mostly because we've got a fairly limited number of cars that they're going to be able to initially import. The biggest question remaining is, what about manufacturing? So BYD has shown that it's got a willingness to manufacture in country. We see that in Brazil, we see that in Europe, we see it in Mexico. So I think that we may find that there's some leverage here that Canada has to reinforce the need to be manufacturing, or at the very least doing some major component assembly in country, in Canada, in a very short term. Why do they want to do this? Well, Canada is a testing ground for North America. And if we can successfully integrate Chinese vehicles into Canada, when the atmosphere and the mood changes in another 3 years in the United States, you may find that BYD is positioning itself, or positioning Canada, to be the stepping stone to moving into the United States. So they're going to want to set up a model that they can point to, so it makes the entry into the United States a little easier. So BYD, I think, is going to play on the technology versus price. So they're going to be able to sort of replay the Australia card, where they say, you know, technology like a Tesla, but price like a Toyota. Well, in North America, I think what they're going to be saying is, we offer better technology than Ford or General Motors, but at a Kia's price. Last word, BYD didn't win over Australia or Europe, or really even Mexico, by being the cheapest car available. What they did was they entered the market and they specifically looked at the clients that they had available to them, and they offered the vehicles that they needed at a reasonable price with superior technology. So the play here is research the market, see what would fit for that market. Remember, BYD has dozens of models that they can slot into every different part of the food chain. BYD is just going to make the argument, why would you pay more for less technology from your traditional automakers? I'm going to add one more thing in here. I've just recently finished reading the book Apple in China, and it does have a segment on Tesla being introduced into the Chinese market. And I've also been watching some of the other market forces and discussions about how manufacturers are going to compete. I don't think that the battery technology is actually the biggest argument for how Chinese cars are going to succeed in Canada or North America. I think the biggest lever they have is actually gigacasting. They've learned gigacasting in China from Tesla. And gigacasting is that other game changer that I think people are overlooking. With gigacasting, you can replace hundreds of separate parts with one stamped part. And that completely rewrites the instruction manual on how to build a car. If there is a play for Canada, it's not just to manufacture the batteries themselves. I think that part's already done, probably at scale in China just fine. I don't know if it's as easy for Canada to sort of master the battery manufacturing part. But if we could get installed manufacturing equipment that is used for gigacasting, that puts assets in country that makes the argument for Canadian jobs manufacturing Chinese cars even stronger. If you'd like this discussion about Chinese EVs in Canada, do me a favor and hit this video here or this video here and watch one of my other episodes. We'll see you in the next video.